Welcome to The Secrets of Success. By following the proven techniques of the guests who appear on this series, you'll learn that even successful people run into detours and failures, and how you can apply their success techniques to change your life.
You're now listening to the most unique show on radio, the show dedicated to making you a success. Looking for the right job? Use the GPS, says our guest, Beverly Williams. Beverly, thanks for being with us today.
Bill, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm looking forward to our discussion.
Now, we kidded in the introduction, but your book is called Your GPS to Employment Success. So we're going to rely on you with helping us find that job. Let's start off with, how do we know if we're in the right job fit or what we're really looking for?
Well, there's not one size that fits all. Each individual has to do the legwork. It's almost like being a detective. You have to take the steps necessary to find out what's good for you, what you will be good at, what you might even be passionate about. You need to know whether or not you need to be entrenched in a job, that you have to feel it, or whether you can just have a job and go to work and come back home and be satisfied. Everyone is different. To thine own self be true. You must know yourself, know what it takes to make you happy, to fulfill you, if that's what a job is, you need a job to do for you, or can you just go to a 9-to-5 and be done with it and have fun after 5 o'clock, and that's the way you want to live your life. So you have to do the analysis, the self-analysis.
Are there any particular red flags that you would say to someone? And again, I guess for the most part, we're talking kind of a reverse pyramid, or the pyramid where most of the job hunters are younger, in their 20s, maybe 30s. And as we go up, either we're kind of settled in, or we say, well, wait, at this point, I'm not going to go jumping around. But for that younger person who hasn't gone through this 2 or 3 times already, are there certain red flags they can look for and things that would tell them now is the time to start looking, or you're in the perfect job?
Like I said, it's almost like being a detective. You need to do the legwork. You need to do the research necessary to find out about prospective employers. You want to make sure that what you think about a company is actually the kind of company they are. So you can talk to people, you can go online and read articles, blog posts, reviews of the company. They have Glassdoor and other websites that provide information about companies. You have to do the work. When you're looking for a job, you have a job. Your job is looking for a job. And it takes effort. It takes tenacity. It takes managing expectations. It may even mean having a thick skin, because rejection may come your way.
And I think you even say we can learn a lot from rejection. Am I correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every no is not a bad thing. A no can be turned into a yes. I have a friend who interviewed for a job in another state, and they were really impressed with her, but she didn't get the job because there was another person already employed that they wanted to promote. So they did that. But she impressed them so much, my friend did, that when another opportunity came up, they didn't even advertise or publicize the fact that it was open. They just reached out and asked her if she would be willing to come on board. That's the kind of impression you want to leave. And you can only do that if you are invested in what you're doing and you're putting your best foot forward.
Now, you talk about, and you use the expression, and I love this, manage your mindset. What is the mindset if we're either looking for a job or we know we're not quite fully satisfied with the present job? Might not be bad, but it could be better. It's like going out with someone. We're having a nice time, but this is not the keeper for the rest of our lives. I don't want to marry him or her or, whatever the situation. What do you mean by manage your mindset? What is the mindset we want?
You want to make sure that you're in the right frame of mind. You want to make sure that you're managing your expectations, that you're not thinking, oh, I'm all this in a bag of chips. I'm really like a good catch, like that person that you say you're dating. I'm a good catch. I am a good employee. I can add value. Your current employer, may not be giving you the right vibe, that they feel that way about you. Now, if you like where you're working, you like the people you're working with, but you're not getting the most positive feedback, go to your boss and have a very calm discussion. Ask questions about what it would take for you to move up, if that's what you want. But if you don't hear what you think you should hear, then you start looking someplace else. But you don't leave your job, your current job, unless you have another job. And not only another job, it's in writing. They've offered you the job and you're ready to start. But you always give 2 weeks notice. And if your current employer says, no, you can go now, happily leave. But leave with grace. Leave politely. Do not leave a bad taste in anyone's mouth as you leave.
And I guess that's because we never know where life's going to take us. And that may be our boss in another company, or we may be their boss, or who knows.
That's right. Or he may know your boss in the next company and poison the well before you even start.
Beverly, one time I interviewed someone, and it's funny, this had to be 12 years ago. And I remember one line that he answered, and I still talk about him, just as you said, that impressed me. Very simple line. We were talking about, he was a paralegal. He was looking for a job. And as we're talking, he looked at me and he said, my job is to make my boss look good. And I'd like you to talk about that, because I think sometimes we forget that.
Typically, usually, in my experience, when we look for a job, we're focused on what we need. We're singularly focused. It's, I need a job. I have to go out and find a job. Failure's not an option. We don't think about what the employer might need. Okay, there's a job description. I can do everything, all the list of job duties. I can do all those things. I'm qualified. I should get this job. Let me go in and tell them, I have these qualifications. I meet these qualifications. I'm expecting to get the job. No, you go in, you make the person who is interviewing you feel that I'm the person you want because I can add value. I can make my boss's job easier. I am the right person to have in your workplace because people like me. I'm a nice, supportive person. I'm a team player. You say all the right things and you mean it. Now, don't say it if you don't plan to do it, because they will drop kick you out of there in a nanosecond.
Now, here's a nice problem that we might have. We have a job, and it's nice. I go 9 o'clock. I come home 5 to 5:30. The lunch places in the area are nice, and it's a decent salary. I'm not going to get wealthy, but it's decent. I have benefits. Is that almost a bad thing? Because now I'm kind of relaxing and saying, you know what, I can kind of relax. It's like the big soft chair, and I can sit here, and I'll do an adequate job for them, and probably in a few years I'll be moving up 1 or 2 steps. But is that almost bad for me, that I'm getting too comfortable and I'm never going to maximize both financially and, I guess, emotionally my potential?
Well, see, it goes back to, Bill, what I said in the beginning. It depends on what you're looking for. If you're satisfied with that, it's okay. Everyone doesn't want to be a CEO. Everyone doesn't want to supervise 10 people. It's okay. That's all right. If that works for you, if that satisfies you, if you don't aspire to do more, it's okay. But don't think that because you're okay, your employer is going to be okay. Because you might continue to get salary increases, but at some point you're going to stop. And if you're not engaged if you're not doing more, if you're not conveying that you're giving your best, they may find someone who's more interested, because it does, based on the description, it doesn't appear that you're really that interested in what you're doing.
I'm comfortable. As I said, I'm not rocking the boat. They're not rocking the boat. No. I have good benefits, and I get my holidays, and in 3 years I'll get an additional 2 days off of vacation and whatever.
Well, let me just say this. Some employers have a policy of cutting the low-hanging fruit. That's what they call it.
Okay.
They look at their workforce and they say, okay, Bill's not, he comes in at 9, he leaves at 5:30. He's a good guy, but he's not bringing a whole lot to the party. We have to get rid of somebody. We'll get rid of Bill. We'll bring in somebody else.
I want to come back to that before you get rid of Bill, but before we talk further, I'd like our audience to know that you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Bill Horan. Today, our guest is Beverly A. Williams. She is the author of Your GPS to Employment Success. And Beverly, would you tell us the website where we can learn more?
Sure. The website is www.youremploymentmatters.com. There's also a podcast, Your Employment Matters with Beverly Williams. I've interviewed a number of professionals, and that means whatever you do for a living, whether it's driving a truck, working in a hospital, an executive director of a ballet in Utah, a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist in Philadelphia, a rock star. My dentist's son is a rock star. So I interviewed him. I wanted to provide information that people would find helpful. Everyone can't afford to pay for a coach.
Well, I want to mention to our audience, one of the things I liked about looking at your book and setting up today's show, just in going through it, it was motivating me. Now, I'm not in the job market, but it really was. No, because it was giving me a plan. As I said to you before the show, if I was going to Florida, I'd want some directions. If I just go willy-nilly, I'd probably get there. But when would it be? Probably in a week or two, because I'm driving off the road and getting distracted, etc. But if I have a plan, at least I'm going to go the best route, find the better restaurants or something that might be attractive on the way, or scenic, whatever, and enjoy it a bit more. That's what I found that your book was doing. It was giving me a plan and outline what I should be doing. I didn't have to learn by making my own mistakes. You tell us what to do. And I think anybody who's in the market, and perhaps all of us really are, because today we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Long-time businesses are gone in a week or two.
No. And that, that was what was distressing me. That's why I wrote the book. This is the second book. The first book was self-published. Traditional publisher saw the book and asked me if I would update it. And that's what I wanted to do. And this time I didn't have to spend my own money. Things have changed so much, Bill, that people are just, when I hear people talk about the Great Resignation and how employees are not going back to the workplace, they don't want to go, and employers are no longer in the driver's seat. We know that's not true. Employers have leases, on long-term leases on buildings, on bricks and mortar buildings, and they need to fill those buildings. And if not with the employees that were there before COVID, they will have new employees in those buildings because they will be there.
There's always someone coming up behind us, I guess, just like in sports. Unfortunately, you get to a certain point. In sports, it's usually in perhaps your early 30s, maybe even late 20s. We hope it's a little later in life for most of us, but there's always someone next. Yeah, let's put it that way.
It really is. And speaking of sports, whether you like him or not, I personally, in the interest of full disclosure, I love LeBron James. His career strategy is a model. People could use it as a template. And it's set forth clearly in the book.
Well, now you've got us. You whet our appetite. What is his strategy? Come on.
Strategy is perform at a high level. Best player, other than Jordan. Okay. Reasonable minds can differ. You perform at a high level. He wanted multiple NBA championships. He didn't get it in Cleveland. He stayed there for 7 seasons. You give it enough time, perform at a high level, give it enough time to achieve your goals. If you don't achieve your goals in a reasonable period of time, you move on. You go to another job. You go to another job where you can achieve your goals. He got 2 championships in Miami, went back to Cleveland, got 1 in Cleveland. That's what you have to do. It's your responsibility. It's your career, your employment journey, and you have to manage it.
Now, you mentioned in your book, and this kind of took me by a surprise for most of us looking for a job, that we have a personal brand, and we have to take care of that. Where does that fit into, let's say, if we're going for what I would call a routine job, a teacher, an accountant? Not a bad job, certainly, but it's not theatrical. We're not going to have a big image or a different one that would probably stand out. So where does that branding come in?
The branding comes in from the time you enter school, from the time you interact with people. People form opinions of you. People they describe you. It's how people describe you, what they think of you. Now, you don't really have to accept as true what they think, but if your conduct is consistent with what they think and what they say, then it attaches to you. So what you want to do is conduct yourself in a fashion that serves you well, is what I say. You want to make sure that your grandmother would be proud of you. You don't want to be in a setting where someone may observe you cursing, drunk, high, just conducting yourself in an undesirable way, because you don't know who sees you and when they see you. And you don't want to be cutting up and going to a job interview and run into somebody who saw you cutting up, and they're the person that's going to interview you. It happens.
I'm laughing because in a company I worked with, an applicant was coming into the parking lot, and he went on to meet the president and talk to him about the job. And on his way in, who did he cut off and give the finger to? The president's secretary. He didn't get the job.
And that's the other thing, Bill. Secretaries, custodial workers, cafeteria people, they're all important. They are the lifeblood of business.
And honestly, you've, I'm sure, seen it, and I've seen it too, where they're the ones who come back and say, are you hiring that guy? And of course, the company trusts them because they know Joe the custodian for 30 years or Mary the receptionist or whoever.
Of course, they know where the bodies are buried.
And exactly. And these people say, when that guy was sitting out there or that woman was doing this, here's what was going on. And they think nobody's seeing them. And of course, this person who almost seems invisible to a lot of people because they're kind of a lower level employee are taking it all in.
That's right.
Beverly, again, before we go further, I'd like our audience to know that you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Bill Horan. Our guest today is Beverly A. Williams. Her book is Your GPS to Employment Success. And Beverly, we're going to ask you once again if you have a website and if you can tell us what it is.
I do have a website. Thank you, Bill. It's www.youremploymentmatters.com. The podcast is Your Employment Matters with Beverly Williams, and you can find the podcast wherever podcasts are provided.
And to our audience, if you didn't get all this good information down, or you want your son, your daughter, your father, your brother to have it, you can go to nccradio.org. That's nccradio.org. That's our podcast. Just look for Secrets of Success, and look for Beverly A. Williams, and you can listen to it at your leisure, or your friend, your relative, etc. can listen to it. If you were talking to someone about the basics from both sides of the table, what the employer is looking for and what the applicant is looking for, what basics would you tell them to be aware of?
From the prospective employee's perspective, I would talk to current employees. I would talk to former employees if I could find them. Usually you can find them online, at least one or two. You want to hear what people have to say. Now, if you don't know the person that you're talking to about a prospective employer, you have to factor that in. You want to go, when you go for an interview, hopefully you'll be interviewed, you want to pay attention, be observant. See whether people are walking around with smiles on their faces or whether they're grim. Just pay attention to the environment. Is it a pleasant environment, workspace-wise? Is it conducive to being productive and enjoying coming to work in the morning? Now, it doesn't have to seem like it's a party, but you don't want to have to work in a place that's almost like a steel mill if that's not what you're about. If you're looking for an office job, you don't want something that's almost depressing. So that's important for an employee. For an employer, you want someone who is engaged, eye contact, smiles, seems like they would be a joy to be around. I can tell you, I have made some bad hires in my time. And the bad hires I made, they smiled, they were pleasant, and during the interview made me want to hire them, and I rued the day that I did it. So if it's not a good fit for you, then leave, but leave with grace. Leave professionally. Sometimes it's not a good match.
You make a great point, and it's so easy because as we're sitting there waiting to go in, as you said, what are their facial expressions? Do they look like they're enjoying work? If you can be around the parking lot early or late, are they kind of, just another day, another dollar people? Or do they really seem to enjoy what they're doing? Or is there a positive vibe in the office? And I think you can pick that up very easily and very quickly. And that's the kind of, I guess I'm going to use the word culture, that's not going to change. And yet
Right.
It will, if it's there today, it's probably going to be there a month from now when you're there. And if they're miserable, chances are you might be too.
Exactly.
Now these rules.
I'm sorry.
No, that's right. Let me let you finish.
If that's what you're looking for, if that kind of environment is important to you, you need to check it out to make sure that it exists there. If it doesn't exist there, that may be an indication that that's not going to be a good fit for you.
Now, today, a lot of us think in terms of college, but a lot of people are saying, is that necessary? It puts such a burden on people going through dollar-wise. You're losing a couple of years of employment, etc. What would your advice be? Now, you've seen it from the top. You've seen it from people hiring, what others are doing, what they're looking for. What advice would you give someone if they're kind of on the fence about, should I go to college? Should I not? Should I just go into the workforce?
Strangely enough, coincidentally, I read an article today about skills-based training because so many people are opting not to go to college. Employers are hiring people and creating skill-based training so that they can hire people who have the requisite skills that they need. And they're not requiring college degrees as they used to. Now, that doesn't seem, as I understand it, to be an overwhelming movement yet, but it could gain traction. It's not hasn't been embraced completely in the federal government, but that seems to be the only aspect of employment that is not moving in that direction. Having said that, I think it depends on the person. I think that, in fact, I know employees are exempt and non-exempt, salaried and hourly employees. Hourly people want to be salaried because that makes them feel like they're professionals. If you're an hourly worker, sometimes hourly workers feel less than. They're on the lower end of the totem pole. So if you want to be a salaried employee, you have a better chance of becoming one if you have a college degree. So it's a personal choice, but then don't blame anybody if you decide not to go to college. But if you get a job with an employer that has tuition reimbursement,
there you go.
Then you go in, get your college degree, and then you'll have more choices.
And you have the best of all worlds.
That's right.
Beverly, we hear, and I see in your book the words embrace change. Now, that's a nice term, but what does it mean to the average person going, when I say average person, going to a good job? They might be a sales professional, they might be a teacher, an accountant, or a paralegal. How do they embrace this change?
They can embrace change by pivoting whenever change comes up. Don't be resistant to it. Pivot is the new word. I like that. It used to be, you transition to this. Now everybody's pivoting. Employment is changing so rapidly that if you're resistant to it, it's going to pass you by. You're not going to get the benefits from going with the flow and being engaged and receptive to helping to effectuate change. You want to say, you want to do it that way? Let me help you. What can I do to help? If you don't know what to do, ask a question. There's nothing wrong with asking a question. That sounds good. I don't know much about it. How can I learn? Go online, see what you can find out. But you want to always be the person that people want to work with.
Beverly, you've given us wonderful advice, and I want our audience to know once before we wrap up. The book is Your GPS to Employment Success by our guest, Beverly A. Williams. We've only scratched the surface today. There's so much more in here. And just reading this book, if you're looking or if you're planning to look, or your brother, your sister is looking, it's going to motivate you to go through the process. Beverly, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Bill. I really enjoyed it. And thank you to your support staff. They've been really great.
See, you include everybody. You know how to do it. I'd like our audience to know that you've been listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Bill Horan. We ask you to please join us again next week at the same time when we will continue our journey to success.